It was going on to be Lionel class of 2009, back with another episode of PV versus everybody. And listen, I already told y'all what was going to be going on, who was going to have in the building. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Quincy T. But before we get into it, you already know we got to show some love. Let me get my daughter set up because she over here bothering me. There we go. All right, so I think we good now, hopefully. But with that said, man, first and foremost, you already know we got to show some love to PV alumni Jeff McKissick. He's a Texas licensed loan officer with Fairway Independent Mortgage Company, and he'll help guide you seamlessly through the home buying process. See, many of us are unaware of our credit score or our true financial situation, but he'll help you to achieve the dream of owning your home sooner than you think. He understands your situation might not be perfect, but listen, that's understandable. The sooner you two start talking, the sooner you can solve the credit issues and student loan debt. So don't let the fear of achieving new heights hold you back from getting the home of your dream, perfect for your growing family, or for hosting those PV watch parties. Get started now and taking the first step towards your new home and the next big step in your life. Don't delay. Talk with Jeff today so you can be in your home tomorrow. And listen, after you talk with Jeff, after you get that loan in place, right, and you want to make sure that you are having your biggest investment dealt with, right? Because listen, when you're thinking big about your biggest investment, right, you owe it to yourself to contact Big, this Blueprint Improvement Group. Big provides home inspections in the greater Houston area and is owned and operated by proud PV Mechanical alumni Neil Harris. She has experienced inspectors who use advanced tools and techniques to assess every aspect of the property from the roof to the foundation. So visit thinkbig.com or text 713-259-0673 to book your home inspection. Support the team that supports the team. And with that said, man, I got to bring up my special guest on this evening, talking about advanced numbers, Mr. Quincy T. And first of all, man, I wanted to ask you, how did you even get into kind of tracking advanced statistics and things of the nature? Like what kind of led you to even want to like really look into depth on what's going on the football field numbers wise?
One of the things, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay. I can hear you now.
Okay, awesome. Good evening, everyone. Appreciate you having me on. And so one of the things that got me into just advanced numbers, I do basically in software engineering and things like that. And so always been a more technical guy, problem solving guy. And so love football and everything. And the basic aspects of like data that's out there. In the FBS world, it's everywhere. It's so much going on, and it's like, it's been basically become a big industry. You look at things like Huddle, or they even have like different AI tools that they use now. And so, but you come down to the FCS level, and even worse on the HBCU level, it's sparse. And so it's just like, yo, I want to see, success rates. I want to see expected plays. I want to see all of the cool numbers that I can get when I go and watch Texas or Texas A&M. I wanted to see like, hey, how about we have this for HBCUs as well? And so it's one of the things that I've begun, on a journey to try to, be able to provide those numbers to have, but to be able to provide fans, players, coaches, anyone a better picture of that. Not only do we play amazing culture ball down here, we play great football as well. I can't hear you, Lionel. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I say that I was trying to say that there's a real huge market that's out there of sports and teams and people that aren't getting that advanced statistics, right? That isn't having AI being used to really showcase the product. And so really that market is so huge, and it's dope that you are been diving into it. And I know we talked a little bit offline about how you're actually in the works of putting together not just a website to take care of HBCU ball, right, but really FCS in general. And so I think that's super dope, man. And I know it's going to be exciting for a lot of people to check that out when you have that come out, man.
And so, because one of the things that I realized as I was doing it, because again, software designer can do back end of the websites, also the front end, but also hopping on the end of getting the data and then structuring the data to be able to
Yeah.
aggregate that is like wow. And so started it about mid-season, taking me much longer, but going is a project that is like, oh, it's got its hooks into me, and so definitely can't wait to share it. It got some big things planned and gonna do some content creation going forward.
That's gonna be dope, man. I can't wait to see it. Actually, when I started to do the HBCU fantasy football, PB fantasy, I know this year kind of got a little derailed, man. My time was kind of out of there. That was kind of part of the process of really getting the people to know the players a little bit more. We don't really know our players like that, and not just like, hey, PB got people knowing PB players, but even in general, a lot of other schools don't really know their players except for the ones who are mentioned over and over again. But we really want to support our teams, our players, and what they got going. And I thought it was a great way to do that. So I got some things to work to with that as well. And so, I'm loving that, what you're doing too. And I think I can't wait to see it come out. But let's get straight into it, man. Talk about advanced football statistics. I'm gonna let you roll through, man, and kind of share because, hey, listen, I'm just here to soak up the knowledge and to learn more. I'm really just here to learn from an advanced statistician why Prairie View is about to do what I already know they're about to do. That's what I'm here for, right? You know what I'm saying? And so, man, y'all got questions in the chat, man, put them there, right? You know what I'm saying? As we rolling through, if you got some questions about some of the stats, some of the things that Quincy's going to talk about, then make sure you drop it in the comments, right? And so we can get him to respond to some of those things. Because listen, I ain't the software engineer here. You know what I'm saying? I'm just the guy who asked the questions and who poked the bear or the heifer, right? You know what I'm saying? This week, right? You know what I'm saying? So with that said, let's go and get into it, man.
All right, and so first I wanted to just, the open presentation. My name is Quincy T. Been, doing software and everything. Kimpo, yes, sir, QK. But just wanted to, dive in this space. And so this brief class, go over some of the key things that you should know. You have most likely heard the terms and the things that you just understand as a football game. These are things that we basically try to quantify through numbers. And so, you can go to the next slide. And so what are advanced statistics? They're not scary or anything. It's like, basically it's for nerds like me that want to also chime in. We may not have been the biggest, we may not have been the fastest, but we still love the game. And so it's a way to measure the game, a way to quantify. And so the old adages you hear, like you win the game by field position, or it's a game of inches. And so, it might just sound like some things that coaches say, but you could actually quantify that and you could actually measure that. So one of the main measurements that is used, and one of the granddaddy of them all statistics, is the EPA. And so that's basically a field position battle. And so what the EPA stands for is going to go over, basic information is expected points added. And so when we say field position, and it's logical, right? It's what you see. It's like the closer you get to the end zone, the greater your chance to score. And so they try to measure it saying, hey, if you are on your own 20, the chances of scoring for your own 20 is like a 0.2%. But as you get closer to the end zone, it can go up to 7%, because I'm not 7%, up to 7 points. And so basically, when you measure a play, say for instance, if you gain 5 yards, the difference is what becomes is that it takes number and it takes the measurement, and that's what you get for the EPA. And so what it is not, it's not exactly field position, but it is taking the values, and trying to like measure it. And so next we want to go to success rate. And this is one of my favorite tools. And the success rate is basically how consistent you are in moving the ball forward. If you're not moving the ball forward, that's not called a successful play, but also how many yards you gain. And so if you're not getting to a first down, then basically, if you're not moving towards a first down, you're hurting your team, is not being a successful play. And these are basically the two foundations of any statistical websites or any statistical measures. And so you just, one of those old adages, you just matriculate the ball down the field. And so matriculating down the field, you're just increasing your success rate. And so you're going from on first down, you have a lot of yards to gain, but as the downs increase. On third down, you really need to get a first down to keep the drive going. So those are two widely used statistics. So anyone, your favorite statistics websites, they will most likely use those as a basis for their stats. And then, hold on, that's the next one I want to go over. Can you go to the next slide, please? There we go. And so, well, one of my favorite statistical measures is the S&P Plus. And so most statistics are advanced stats that do the rankings. Their rankings are like, hey, we're going to rank Texas in the FBS. And, it's cool. Like, what I'm saying? I like go Alabama watching games. But it's like, hey, how does SWAC schools measure in, or how do HBCUs measure in the FCS level? And so they have pretty cool tools and they have pretty cool rankings that show where not only would HBCU schools be in the regular picture, but the S&P Plus measures the entire collegiate landscapes, all over 700 teams. And so in just the FCS right now, Prairie View has risen up to number 33, and they are surging. We have a chart that's coming a little bit later that just will basically measure like how at the beginning of the season, Prairie View was, it's basically takes the previous ranking and how, as you see, the teams, they did not start, great, winning on the last second play against Texas Southern, the last second surviving the field goal against Alcorn. And so just like the team surviving, you obviously see it's a good team. And it's like, you're just saying, when this team puts it all together, they are going to be something special. And so as you can see, as the last half of the season, and again, we're going to get to the chart where you're just seeing the team just dramatically shooting up in the rankings because the team is now putting it together. The team is now having explosive plays. They're having consistent success. And so they went from down low to one of the lower ranked teams in FCS until now we're up in the 33. And again, we were like in the 50 like a couple weeks ago, and before that we were in the 75s. And so right now, of course, North Dakota State is number one. We may get a chance to crack at them in a couple of years after we keep mounting up. But for the HBCU level, right now Jackson is number 14. Their overall total is 15.6. And so teams in this area they're close enough to be like, it isn't like it's like Prairie View lined up against Alabama. It's like that would be difficult. We line up, but that'll be a tough matchup. But teams at this level where you're more closer together. So that 8.1 and that 15.6, that's much more closer together. And so, but looking at the other teams, we played Alabama State. Obviously, very close game. Came down to the wire, missed field goal at the end to try to take it into overtime. And this chart actually doesn't show UTRGV is actually in the top 25 as well. Their ranking, they are at 10.6. And so, we faced that competition. We've been right there with the competition.
That's definitely interesting to see that, you got competitors, right? Also be able to use these advanced statistics, look at how you then look at strength of schedule and things of that nature, right? With the teams that you face. So that's pretty interesting to hear that UTRGV is top 25. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the whole they ain't played nobody. It's like when we play some of these teams, we're not at the strength of the team, but and then I found this amusing. NC Central is currently ranked above Prairie View, and I'm guessing that's just I haven't did a trend line on them, but they obviously were not one of the top teams in the MEAC. And so, they were one of the top three, but they lost to Delaware State, and they lost to South Carolina State. And Prairie View is ahead of South Carolina State as well as ahead of Delaware State. And so it's just, that celebration compare tool. And it's just that I'm guessing, NC Central just really blew those two games. And so, but again, the S&P Plus is one of the oldest metrics. It's Bill Connolly does. He's really good. He's very smart. You can find his stats on ESPN, and he gives out the complete database that he has for free. And so it's just the words. I mean, the numbers. And he doesn't give his words are locked behind the ESPN paywall. But you can go in and follow the chart, understand it, and And can you go back one slide? Okay, I'm sorry. Go to the line chart. Can you find that one? Okay, and so this is one of the things that I was talking about. And so as you can see, Prairie View started down low on the line chart. And that's because, again, it started the season not well. But as the team grew and developed, you get, new coach, 70 plus transfers. It's going to take a while to grow and develop and to get more cohesion as a team. And then right around week 8, let's see, I believe that was, give me one moment, I can pull up what game that was. But week 8 is when you really start to see the offense click. While the defense had always been really good throughout the season, it was just the offensive piece that Prairie View was missing. And once Prairie View, I think that is the Lincoln game. Oh no, that was Southern. So week 8 to 9 is when you really start seeing the offense started putting it all together. You start seeing Cam Peters hit that next level, and his growth and development this season has been tremendous to watch. And even in that loss to Alabama State, you see that our success rate in that game, we were consistent with it. We were actually more consistent than Alabama State. And so, and you go, I think it's back the other way. I want to introduce what I call the winning way. And so this is where basically one of the statistical measures that I wanted to do was measure the net success rate. And so basically it compares how well you succeeded versus how well you stop the other teams from succeeding. And so it's a very simple measure, but it's very obvious, you can see. And so it basically dictates how well you did over the course of the game. There are, of course, some variables. And so that's why you'll see something like, as we were going to see when we get to the charts, that with the success rates, well, it tells, who was the most consistent. Footballs, is not played with, it's not played on paper. The football is played with people. And so, you get 18 to 22-year-olds, you're going to have a lot of volatility. You're going to have big plays. You're going to have fumbles. And so that's why you'll see, while this team may have been consistent, that's why it feels like, hey, we should have won this game. That feeling when, like, we should have won this game. But, due to circumstances, turnovers, or the team had big plays, fluke plays, those things, that leads you to having a better success rate or worse success rate in the outcome not coming out in your favor. And so you can go to a couple slides down.
Which one are you looking for?
Just go forward. I think we've already been through these.
So I think the other ones I got on a different slide. So you got to tell me.
Oh, you got to. I think it's just called the
net success rate.
Yes, success rate. Yep. So this is where I wanted to go. We could go to the Jackson one first.
All right, no problem. And as you go into that too, I just wanted to say, I mean, it's interesting you talk about being able to quantify that feeling of, man, we should have won this game. And I think a lot of sports fans have always feel that you have that mindset, that thought process of like, man, I feel like one got away, et cetera, right? You talk about those variables of the turnovers and things of that nature, but it's interesting to see, man, from a data standpoint, that data can also show, man, you really should have won this game, right? But that one play here or one play there, you talk about the volatility of 18 to 22-year-olds, right? Like, it's just so interesting, right, to see it from a statistical standpoint, right? So I think that's pretty cool, and us being able to see that now. So go ahead, man.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, feel free to jump in. I'll try to.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. I one thing that I was thinking about too, as you talk about it, right? Because you're talking about down to down, et cetera. I know in general, in my mind, based on kind of just seeing football, kind of seeing how things go, stat wise, in my mind, I feel like when I look at yardage, and I've done this with yardage, it's just something in my mind, right? Not something that obviously I've quantified like you have here, but I always look at, man, every 100 yards is like 8.5 points, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, if every 100 yards, the team should basically be scored about 8.5. Obviously, it's football, no 8.5. My point is, right, 200 points, right? That means you should be at around 17 points, right? If you be able to put 200 yards on a play on the field, moving the ball up and down, right, etc. And then there's variable for turnovers. Like you turn the ball over, obviously that kind of slides you down, etc. But kind of when I use that little thought process, it always kind of lands close to what the score ends up being. And you accept when you have, like you say, those very variable games of like, man, just turn the ball over, or maybe like you win the red zone 5 times, but you kick 4 field goals, right? It's just things like that make it throw out of whack. But it's like, man, how did this team lose this game when you move the ball this many times?
And so it's basically been part of the story of Prairie View season. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to drive home the EPA in the field position. At the beginning of the season, and I know we're on this Jackson slide. Can you go to the next one with the Prairie View slide? And so basically, and this was hilarious to me. The first one is the only one where it's like, I can understand Texas Southern's feelings, like we should have won that game. But so basically, that was the miraculous, unbelievable comeback where it's like it was a sloppy game. But one of the things, as you're saying, like it was a close competitive game. But one of the reasons why that game, as you can see, it favors Texas Southern is because of EPA, and that was field position.
Yeah,
we kick it off to them, and they run it down the field. Yeah, and so now it's like they have to go 40 yards for a touchdown.
yes,
Like that one where they got a big gain, and then on the next play, Renfro takes it
touchdown, right?
For a touchdown. Now, and then when we have to drive 80 yards, we have to drive 60 yards. You get a couple first downs, but the draw stalls out. And then it takes a couple drives until your defense holds, and you can flip field position, and then eventually you can score. And so that's why when I went back I'm kind of upset. I only did SWAC teams because I wanted to be as close of a comparison as possible to like for like. I didn't want anything like Rice or Lincoln to get in the way of skewing stats. And so, but I would like to see that. Northwestern State game because one of the arguments is that Prairie View has not grown. Obviously, we've seen the chart where Prairie View started at the bottom. You can obviously see the growth of the team. And they say, well, Prairie View ain't played nobody. Well, at the beginning of the season, we were struggling to put away a team like Northwestern State.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the season, you see the growth of the season. The team that obviously we have to come in and handle business. They are handling business. It's not that nail biter of like, OMG, why are we playing around with Valley, or why are we playing, no disrespect to them? It's just that we saw the scores. It's that now the team is handling business, those explosive plays, consistent success rates. We're seeing that. So, and just looking at the next success rate. So against TSU had obviously had the more success rates, but due to the resilience, that grit, as
Jackson talked about,
because Jackson talked about, it was able to come away with that victory. Then week 5, I think that is week 5 is Grambling. Yeah. Good defensive team, but we, more success, more consistency. Is able to come home, and then the next few games is where you see the schedule gets tougher. But even against the game against Alabama State in week 10, where you see it's much closer to the 0 line.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, turnovers. This only measures consistency. It doesn't measure like the impact of turnovers, because obviously the turnovers were big. We were consistently able to move the ball. The totals, the counting stats, counting up, obviously Prairie View had more than Alabama State, but it's just that those turnovers were big. Even when Andrew Body went down, it was still that running back, man. That offensive line does a great job, and their play calling scheme very much maximizes that. But so they were able to, keep hog the clock. But so that set up Alcorn, even Southern and Bama State. It was actually, nail biters. Obviously, those first few games is like, I feel bad for everybody with high blood pressure, because that couldn't have been easy, those games. But so the next success rate of those games were obviously much closer than I'm sure Coach Jackson wanted. And then I feel like it was the Hail Mary in the Alabama A&M game
Mm-hmm.
where I feel like everything after that Hail Mary, the offense
Yeah,
has
took off. Yep.
and so as you can see, these next success rate, and again, defense has always been playing lights out. And so have been in a real great spot going in the success rate. But let's go ahead and go back to the Jackson slide. Let's talk about a team that, if you haven't watched Jackson, Jackson is a very great team, as you can saw from those previous slides. Consistent, came in highly ranked. They come in, they handle business, even when they had the stumbles like that week 7 and week the week 7 game was Bama State.
Okay.
And even still, I was like, I came away from the game thinking that when I ran the numbers on it, it would show that Alabama State would have the advantage. But no, as great as Andrew Body and those cats did, it showed that Jackson was the better team that day. And then, but the Grambling game is when Lockhart came in, the backup. And that was the one where, Grambling's defense is Grambling themselves have obviously improved. They was able to hold on and win the game. That's why you see their dip low. But as you can see, every other game besides the Bama State game, the Grambling game is it's high because they are very consistent. They crank out big, explosive plays in the run game. Even with Lockhart being a freshman and they're only throwing 10 times, that big offensive line very much
Yes.
blocks for them. It's very cool to see. But that one game at the end on that Alcorn, that's it's not really an anomaly if you watch the game. But it's one where it's like, it kind of shocked me watching the game, like, oh, Alcorn is going blow for blow with them. Alcorn is putting up a fight. And so Alcorn very much had an opportunity to win that game. And so it was very much, it was cool to see. And it, statistics backed it up. That's like, Alcorn put up a fight and had a chance to win that game. It's just that the winning in the margins, Alcorn was not able to pull it out. So
I see a question here too, Mr. Bingman here saying, can you do the same for individual players? I guess with looking at the success rate and looking at the EPA, et cetera.
And so that is the goal. And so, hopefully, if one likes this episode, maybe sometime next year before the season could come on, and have my website fully completed and basically go into that intricate detail of like, I have so much planned and visioned out. It's just that, between life, actual work, and things like that, doing a side project.
We understand, but it's dope, right? To be able to have it, like I say, the FCS level, especially for FCS, but for HBCUs, right? To be able to go and look and say, man, let's look at the advanced statistics of, Chase Bingman, man, going into his junior year. Where is he at? What does it look like? Except, So I just think it's dope, right? Being able to have this broken down and see it almost point by point, play by play, right? So
yes. And so, what next? Do you have another slide, or do you have the PDFs?
No, PDFs next.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and let's break down. Let's go ahead and do Jackson.
Oh, there you go.
All right, and so basically, yes, I will be able to break it down in the detail in which was able to get the data. And so, unfortunately, as I was parsing some of the numbers across to try to make these tables, some of the numbers didn't fully come through. But again, the Jackson has played 8 SWAC games. Again, I did not do any other side teams yet. I want to make sure I can get my SWAC numbers correct. And so, and as let's see. Okay, I see that I'm looking on my right. It's like, no, my screen to the right is not the screen that you have. And so basically, the numbers, we try to break it down into, again, when you're looking at the 6 advanced numbers, you're looking at expected points added, success rates, which, I love success rates. That just tells how well you did on one play. And then the per metrics, or PERs. So how many yards did you gain on that drive? I mean, how many yards did you gain on that play, or per play, or per drive, or per game? And so Jackson and Prairie View has, done a really good job just looking at the drive summary. And so one of the things that they're able to do is that they're able to get a first down. And so you're looking at plays per drive. That 7.66 is really good. That means that anytime they get the ball on their drive, they're getting at least 1 or 2 first downs.
Right. Makes sense.
And so, again, that big offensive line does a really great job. if you scroll down, I want to also eventually get down to breaking down success rate on plays. Not plays, I'm sorry, on downs. I did it right here by quarter. I'm sorry. Let's go back
Like,
up. So
oh, you're
the
talking about
quarter,
right here by quarter and by down.
yeah. So the six, and I'm sorry, I have it on my screen to the right, and then I look over to the left where I have the string. So the success rate by quarter is interesting. They stand out in two areas. The first area is
Mhm.
the success rate by quarter. I mean, the first quarter and third quarter. That means they're coming out one overwhelming you with talent, overwhelming you with game plan. That's what that says to me. Um, you don't have that big of a success rate without just being well coached and being just having exceptional talent. And then the next thing I want to look at down type. And
Mhm.
so, unfortunately, the passing downs is one of those metrics. Even my passing statistics and this is all off. But on rushing downs or standard downs, what standard downs are is regular downs or first down, second down, or third and short. We call those standard downs, and they succeed in those situations. If you can slow them down by slowing them down on first down, and again, that feels like cliche, but the statistics prove it out. If they're winning on first down, running on second down, that's when they get to rolling. So, and but
So now this success rate, right? This success rate of 0.5, for example, um, kind of how do you quantify that? So in my because I'm looking at it like, okay, so are they successful on first downs or rushing downs? 50% of the time. Is that what that's saying, or am I
so
looking
it's
at that wrong as far as?
no, you're exactly right. So that means on first down, they're gaining at least 5 yards, or on second down, or hold on, well, I'm gonna use if it's first and 10. They're gaining at least 5 yards on first and 10. That offensive line is coming off, moving the D line. They're getting at least 5 yards. On second down, it's say for instance, it's gaining at least. Where's my chart? On second down, it's at least 50% of the yardage. Oh no, hold on 1 second.
I
I
got
should
you. So
show you
you're looking at it
something.
as first down. There's a specific amount of yardage that you expect them to gain that will be successful. Second down is a specific amount of yardage you expect them to gain. Third down, special amount of yards. So it could be like first down, 4 yards is successful. On the second down, 3 yards successful. On the fourth down, 3 yards is successful because that's the first down, for example. Is that kind
Yes, that's essentially what it
of okay?
is. And so,
Okay,
and
interesting.
passing downs is where it gets tricky. Even though it shows they have a good percentage, needs to filter it out for like junk time and stuff like that. But the standard passing downs, when I had it visually, that's when the number obviously drops because it's an obvious passing down. An obvious passing down is third and long or a fourth and long. It's where where the quote unquote defense gets to pin their ears back, and that's quantifiable, and that you can specifically game plan and passing. And as Jackson's numbers have petered off in that they don't pass it much, but they're very efficient. Like when they do pass, they're very opportunistic, and so they're very opportunistic when they do have to pass. And so, but the success where you can see where Prairie View's defense will have to have success is slowing them down again on first down and forcing them into the obvious passing situations, or hopefully even getting up in the game and forcing them to where you get them out their comfort zone where they want to run. And so you can go to the next chart or the next page. And so go to the page after that one because the passing numbers that were transposed and getting placed over. And so and these are some of my favorite advanced statistics. And so you have your standard yards per carry, but the next one is the line yards per carry. And what line yards is, I wasn't in the picture. Line yards is what we measure is how much how much can you attribute the offensive line running the play. And so for the first 4 yards, you could attribute that 100% to the offensive line. And then the next 3 yards, you attribute 50% of that. And so the next one, that the opportunity rate, and that's the opportunity rate. One second, let me get the scientific definition that we have for that one. But the opportunity rate is, hold on 1 second. The stuff percentage, I know that one offhand. What the stuff percentage is is how often that they are stopped in the backfield or if they are tackled with no gain. And as you can see, that 15% is really good. Usually,
That's
it's
very still low. That's not a lot of times they getting stopped in the backfield. Then.
yeah. And so I don't have it. I'm kind of upset about that. One of the things I wanted to do was reverse that. Is how often, like say for instance, measure with against Prairie View's defense is like how often is Prairie View's defense stuff rate. And so wanted to have that, but again, due to time limits constraints, and as you can see, their run percentage is very, very high. And again, because part of that is because I forget his name. I know Lockhart is their current starter, but that's because their original quarterback, Jacobian
Yeah,
Morgan. There we
Jacoby
go.
and Morgan. Yeah,
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 well, he got hurt, and after that, they're very much nursing him that, they don't have to. They're able to lean on they're on the run game, and they've been very successful with it. And not many teams have been able to force them out of their comfort zone. And so, again, it's not as simple as hey, stop the run because when they do pass, it's very opportunistic. They do take their shots, and they're very smart with it. That's one of the things. Again, I wish I had the passing numbers that they do take the
so
shots.
really looking at these statistics, you almost look and see that Davenport has been their best running back just from an advanced stat standpoint, right? Um, and I know the yardage is kind of a little bit off because I know Ahmad. Now, this is only SWAC games, right? Technically, we're looking
Yes.
at here. Okay, makes sense. So then, because I saw 733 yards, but yeah, I mean, it shows based on the numbers here, right? It's showing, yards per carry 7. Saying success rate 64%. You know what I mean? 3.98 highlight and 10% stuff rate. I mean, Davenport, based on those numbers, has been, even though he don't have the most yardage, he's actually been the most successful of the three backs that Jackson uses a lot.
Yeah, and again, one of the things about let's see, and it, again, one of the difference between Lockhart and Morgan. Lockhart was more of a passer. No, I'm sorry. Morgan was more of a passer, but he was an opportunistic runner. With Lockhart, you definitely want to have more of a spy on him, or not a spy. You want to be more cognizant of what he's going to do in the run game because he's more comfortable there. He's doesn't have the reps that the senior Morgan does, and so. But whenever Morgan, and again, I don't know what the injury report is like, but I don't think Morgan is completely ruled out for the game.
He's not he's not ruled out, but from what it sounds like, Coach TC, I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't know if he's gonna play this game. I mean, I hope he plays because I don't want there to be no excuses. But I don't know what's gonna happen with the game because you know the way it sounded was very much kind of like, hey man, it's on the as far as it's on the doctors and things of that, and essentially like, hey, we gonna seek to protect the young man, et cetera, right? So that really gives me an indication that he obviously you want to come back and play this game, but at the same time, it sounds like, man, he's not close enough to where I'm gonna put him out there to get live bullets and maybe aggregate this injury or make it worse. That's really what it sounds like right now. And so it might be possible that Morgan don't even play this game. You know what I mean? From what
Okay.
it sounds like there. But if he does, he's nowhere close to 100% based on the comments we're hearing this week, from Coach TC Taylor today.
Okay, yeah, I haven't had a chance to listen to the coaches call that they usually have during the week. I like listening to
I
that.
agree, Mr. Bowers. I agree with you. I talked about that on the other show too.
Yeah, it's the all awards list. I know they usually try to spread it around, but Prairie View's offensive line has the growth with the offensive line. And again, when we get to the Prairie View slides, you're gonna just see how tremendous that they've been in the growth. And so even on defense, it's just like, but you gotta spread the love, gotta show everybody. Can't have it just full of Jackson State, Bama State, and Prairie View players.
Well,
But
winning should matter. That's my thing with when it comes to those things is winning should also matter too at some point in time.
all right, and you go down. I think there's one more with some defense. Just wanted to give some briefing. You can go past receiving. I'm going to talk about defense. One of the things that I like trying to quantify defense. Defense is really weird. A lot of it is scheme. A lot of it is also player ability. I mean, yes, player ability. And so, but some of my favorite stats in is the havoc rating. And so, we quantify as havoc is tackle for a loss, sacks, passes defense, or forced fumbles. And so they are very active. They have a lot of good talent. Some of their I don't want to say some of their scheme is weird because Prairie runs a bit of a different scheme, but some of the things they do is like wow. But they do have a lot of talented players. They have a big defensive line, and so they do their defensive line a lot different than Prairie View's defensive line. Prairie View's defensive line there's a lot more occupying space,
Mm-hmm.
where theirs is much more the penetrating, trying to cause havoc, get those tackles for a loss.
Right. And I think that's key, right? And that's one thing that, again, now you're looking at these advanced metrics, you got to keep in mind scheme, like you say. And I think when people think about Prairie's offense, defensive line, they say, oh, the defensive line isn't great and things of that nature. But the defensive line is great based on what we do. You know what I mean? Like the defensive line isn't seeking to get, 2 sacks a game. That's not their primary job. Their primary job is to, like you say, take up space, stop the run first and foremost, right? And really more focus on contain than pressure. You can tell the difference. I remember that Southern game. I'm like, you can tell the difference at Southern that Grambling game when later in the game and it was more full on passing downs and they was trying to come back. You could see the difference even the pass rush in later in the game versus what you saw essentially all game against T-Set, for example, because it was clear that they wasn't trying to necessarily rush to create havoc, as you're saying here. They were essentially rushing to keep contained, right?
Mm-hmm.
And take up space. Versus later in the game, you saw, man, they really were taking off to try to really get penetration and make him make quick decisions. And so I think that's key of knowing what Prairie View is actually asking these guys to do. And if you know what they're asking to do, you look and say, this line is actually doing exactly what they need to do to make this team what it's been, which is the number one defense in the conference.
Right. And so, and can you we can go ahead and talk about the home team now. Let's talk about Prairie View, talk about the different things that, when going over the advanced statistics, the type of things that you see that they're able to do. Again, out of the 8 games played. And so on the offense, again, this is a totality of the complete season. So this is even when at the beginning of the season when the offense was trying to find its footing, you're seeing that while the drives per play, the plays per drive is not as high as Jackson, it's still very good. Again, I wish I had it broken down in the quarters. That was one of the things I had intended, but being able to see how the growth of the team, I imagine at the beginning of the season, the plays per drive was lower compared to later on in the season. And so even still with, not as many drives, you still get the high points per drive. And so Prairie View has very much, been very consistent in the matter of how they play per quarter on offense. It's not just first quarter or second quarter, or basically what you see is what you're going to get. They're very consistent. They succeed at a high rate, and explosivity is something that has come, and it's one of those things that you notice at the beginning of the season where it's like, what are they doing? They're dropping passes. Can't have big explosive plays if you don't catch the ball, and so that's something again that's come later. And so, so their success rate again, it's lower than Jackson's in many areas. And again, you have to take into account that the offense has come along. The offense has, is playing much better now. And so you can go ahead and go to the second page. There we go. And so just talk about the rushing stats. And so, and again, one of my favorite stats is the line yards per carry. And I think I missaid it earlier. The line gets 100% of the credit for yards between 0 and 3. They get 50% of the yards between 4 and 6. But whenever you lose yards, they get 125% of the carry. So what that means is that getting that push along the offensive line, that's what we try to attribute for the running game. And so they're basically nearly hitting on, again, it's a top ranked offensive line. You go look at some of the other numbers like Pro Football Focus or anything like that. Prairie View's offensive line ranks very high. They do a good job. They don't, again, that they have even a lower stuff rate than Jackson. Jackson's stuff rate was at a 15. Prairie View's stuff rate is at a 13. So getting hit in the backfield fewer times. We have a slightly more balanced offense. Love the offensive play calling, creativity in many ways. I don't know, somebody sort of left that comment that Coach Jackson was like, don't worry about the offense. I was like, yeah, I've always liked the offensive play calling. But so looking at the team success rates, just the individual leaders, and this is what I find so is that a player that has come along and he has the highest op rate is Cedric Bird. I forget which game it was where I was just like, wow, he was jumping off the page. And again, the numbers have not been adjusted for competition, but still, what the op rate is the percentage of carries gaining at least 4 yards. And so 60% of the time you're getting at least 4 yards. He has a slight shiftiness to it. I don't know if you remember that Texans running back Steve Slayton. That's who he reminds me of running the ball. And so
I don't recall. Yeah, I don't recall Slayton. But okay.
Okay, yeah.
That's similar to that.
Gary Kubiak era Houston Texans, Steve Slayton. Interesting back. But he also played at West Virginia. I'm like, wait, well, how am I skipping West Virginia? Pat White, Steve Slayton.
But I do remember Pat White, and I don't remember Slayton. That name is not ringing a bell.
And so, but
I'm also not a Texans fan. So
okay. But yeah, he was in the Pat White duo. It was Pat White, Steve Slayton, Noel Devine. Noel Devine came along towards their senior years.
I remember Devine too. I remember Devine. I just don't remember Slayton. That's literally the only one I don't remember.
He was on the zone reads with Pat White. He was the one that he handed off to. But yeah. So but the thing is, again, well, you know, Jackson's running backs get all the credit because again, they're big offensive line carries and due to, you know, the necessity. You see Bingman, McDowell, and now recently Bird, they are no slouches. I love watching Bingman run. It's like, wow, he's really good. And so the running backs, the offensive line, they do a great job. They have a great scheme there. It's it keeps everybody out balanced. I'll be watching like, okay, I think I know what's going to happen. No, it's some RPO, and then Peters is making moves. And so, but yeah, Prairie's offense, again, I mean, a lot of this is recent. And that's the coolest part. It's like the offense has really come alive. And you can go down to the defensive leaders.
It's good. I love it.
And so one of the things about, again, and you notice this is like the Jackson, they had a lot more in the tackles for loss category, but you see Prairie View has a higher havoc rate. Well, not havoc rate, but you see more havoc numbers on the Prairie View side, and that's because the way their defense functions. Their players are very active, not only in the passing game, but also you know, in the passes defense. So again, in my opinion, a bit numbers prove, but like what the counting statistics prove, best secondary in the SWAC. And so, but yeah, they get after Zachary. What was that one? It's always a movement when 12 on the field. Had that interception in the Grambling game. He's been everywhere. I don't think he gets the appreciation that he does. They go after him. I remember Valley. Pine Bluff Pips, I think they started out the game with just 2 deep passes on Zachary, but he's there and he gets his head around something not many players at this level do. So, but the advanced stats is for Prairie View is like, and I wish I would have included gang tackle, but it's filtered in. They do a very good job of not only gang tackling but solo tackling. But the type of team Prairie View is, they play on defense where they actively Kennedy Parker. He's you know, very active with the tackles, and that's due to the defensive line allowing him the space to do that. But they tackle. Usually in college, Your skinny dudes, can't tackle. But Prairie skinny dudes do tackle. It's really interesting to see. And so,
Yeah, I'm looking at the NCAA website right now, and Prairie View is third in the NCAA, all of FCS, in the least sacks allowed at 7 allowed for the year, with a 58 opponent sack yardage, giving up a 58 yards. So I'm not seeing where, I don't know where you're looking at to see those numbers, but we're third in the nation in the least sacks allowed. Only 5 schools have given up less than 10 sacks, and we're one of them. The next team from the SWAC that's given up the least sacks is Alabama State at 10, and they're number six overall in the nation. So yeah, we've only given up 7 sacks, for the whole year, and we have a total of 18 um, that we've acquired on defense. So yeah, so I don't know, I'm not sure what statistics you're looking at right now.
hold on, and that's
But
just it. Which one are you looking at? And it was just
uh,
maybe like numbers were transposed.
no, I think no, he was just putting it in the comments, about the sacks given up for the offense and defense, etc. So I was just looking it up because I was trying to see. But I think it's interesting that our Havoc, we have a lot more Havoc, numbers than a team like Jackson. When, like you say, from a defensive line standpoint, they are actually, really trying to get up the quarterback. But I think one part that we see is a lot of that Havoc rating is coming from, instead of D line, or like we see with Jackson, a lot of our Havoc rating is actually coming from the secondary. You know what I mean? Because they're asked a lot to come up in the run game to tackle off of the space that's eaten up by the defensive lineman, right, et cetera. So it's pretty cool to see, and really to know, how we've been able to kind of, cause some issues, you know, um, in different ways. So
But yeah, and again, the numbers will continuously evolve, continuously improve. Hammer down the metrics, actually, create better tools so that be able to create visually. Because one of the things about advanced statistics is that well, I can see the numbers. It's basically being able to explain the numbers to others. And so this is my first time, like doing a podcast on it, and so kind of
no,
rusty and actually
listen,
explain.
I mean, I really think just to see is dope, just to see all the different numbers and really kind of dive into the advanced statistics. It really just start getting your brain rotating and think about, oh man, and really probably have you, like Mr. Beeman asked earlier, like, man, can we do this for players, right? To start seeing, like, and this is the advanced numbers, like you say, in the NFL, high level NCAA Power Four, that you probably are seeing and doing, that they come and say, hey man, on third down, on this down the distance, this player is able to get this amount of yardage consistently. That might be a guy that we want to make a third down back, etc. This is the type of things you really get into depth on, that teams will really start to use to kind of, make some, like you say, decisions. But it doesn't take away from the fact, like you say earlier, of the eye test and of kind of just that feel at the end of the day, right? So, man, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing kind of those advanced numbers. I definitely, hey man, I know you're talking about getting the website up. When you do have it up and you're ready, I would definitely love for you to come back on, to talk about, some more kind of the things you've been able to aggregate and put together, especially, even some of those numbers for some players that's individual too as well. And we could look at that and maybe look at other players throughout the conference, not just even TV people, to kind of see where they measure up, etc. So I think that'd be super dope, man. And just really just another way to look at the game. And so that's super dope, man. So tell people where they can find more information about it, when it's going to come out and things of that nature, or how they can get in touch with you to maybe find out whenever you're going to drop it. What can we kind of check it out at?
And so I'm still workshopping the name of the website because, again, I think I said this earlier, because advanced stats is all about the game being played on paper. And so I was going to call the website HBCU Paper Champs because,
Mm,
again, create a ranking and
nice.
basically
I
create
like it.
my own champion. But the game is not played on paper. The game is played on the field. So I can't wait to
That's
see the game
that's
this Saturday.
actually pretty cool, though. I like the name Paper Champ. That's cool.
And very, very much appreciate you having me on. And again, these are just the basic numbers. I got some concepts that I'm playing around with, especially things like um, special teams or penalties, tracking referees and things like that. But anyway, that's just down in the future. Have to,
Woo! Hey, listen, when you get that track referee, we might have to have a weekly show about that. And you know what's funny, right? And that's dope that you're talking about that, because if you remember early in the year, Coach Jackson made a mention of that. I don't know if you remember that in one of the coach calls. He mentioned saying, hey, we need to know the referees, what their tendency is, what they like to call or usually call. That's advanced stats, man. You talk about knowing those things so you can coach your players on, hey, this referee loves to call this type of holding call. So in this game, this technique that we told you to use, you're not going to be able to use this technique against this player because you know you're going to cost us in the game if you use that technique. So this week, this is how we're going to have to deal with this player because that referee is there. So that's like the next level type of stuff you're able to do. Some of these advanced statistics, man. So it really does have an effect on the game, even though, like you say, at end all be all, it's the Jimmies and the Joes, right? But it still provides a level of analysis that can help you with kind of making some determinations there. So man, Quincy, man, we appreciate you for jumping on, man. And I think we had a couple people in the chat that was able to ask a couple questions. Again, man, if y'all are watching this live or even a replay, y'all got some questions for Quincy about advanced statistics you want to know, drop it in the comments. So if you're watching this replay, drop a comment there, right? So that way when we have Quincy come back on, you know, he can deep dive and kind of answer some more of those questions. Or even maybe you can ask some things, and that way when he's putting together to come to present later on in the future, he can kind of include answers to those questions that you guys got and things of that nature too as well. So Quincy, man, listen, I know you're a numbers guy, but the championship is coming up, man. What's your numbers guy? What do you feel? You know what I'm saying? How this championship game is going to go?
I've said his name a lot today, but I think it's Cameron Peters. His ascension this season has been tremendous. I think he will be the reason Prairie wins. It's just that Scott is basically the team will go as far as Cameron Peters will take them. And I see him leading Prairie to victory. I think it's going to be a surprisingly high scoring game. But yeah, I don't have a score, but I think Prairie wins this. I'm pushing all my chips forward on Cameron Peters.
That's awesome. I got my chips moving forward too. And baby girl is definitely starting to slow down. She's ready to go to sleep. So that's it, man. We appreciate you for coming on. Appreciate all y'all for joining and watching. Make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. And we're going to holler at y'all later. Check us out tomorrow for a preview. And also PB Nation podcast on Wednesday. They're going to be talking about championship game as well. Until then, we'll holler at y'all.